Well, Yousef's situation is getting pretty complex for the OPEC Plus organization. First
Yes.
of all, what is your comment on the fact that OPEC and non-OPEC allies completely failed to agree anything?
Well, certainly it's a disappointing situation. It's unexpected, although at sea markets we had different possible scenarios, and the worst case scenario was the one we saw actually today. And my comment is that to explain why Russia rejected all the possible or the negotiations to come on a reduction deal was number one, Russia expects there will be kind of a recovery from the coronavirus in China, and there is no need to panic. They think this is kind of a temporary situation that will fade maybe by the end of the Q2. But most importantly, why Russia actually is resilient on these reduction cuts is the break-even price for their budget. If you look at the production of Russian crude oil, it's very low. In fact, it compares to the production cost in Saudi Arabia and in the Middle East at $2.69, with a total cost of about $19.21. And if you listen to what President Putin has said just a week ago on Reuters, that the current prices for oil is acceptable for the Russian economy. So Russia, since the decline actually in the oil price in 2014, Russia has invested a lot in its economy to make the national budget, the balance for its national budget at very low price, and they have a break even now of about $42 a barrel. And but the risk in here is that Russia thinks that the price of oil will not, for Brent, will not sink below $40, and this is a big gamble. And I do think that that's explaining the Russian situation. For OPEC situation, I do think that OPEC could have easily had come to a reduction cut without the non-OPEC member, but because Russia is not on board, that's why OPEC didn't want to make the cuts on its own. They want all non-OPEC members to participate, and one member not participating, that actually what OPEC had decided not to go on with a cut deal. But I do think that by April and in the Q2 2020, it will depend. The markets will depend on two situations. Number one, the economic recovery in China. And supposedly that Corona continues to have its impact on the Chinese and the global economy, then we possibly could see OPEC perhaps acting unilaterally in Q2 2020. That's my our insight on this.
Yousef, many people throughout these 2 days meetings said that actually OPEC Plus is on the verge of collapse, the organization itself. Can we exclude this scenario right now or not?
Well, OPEC Plus was founded in 2016 with a target of removing overbuilt in the global oil inventories, and it has successfully done its job. Although if we continue to see if the market continues to, let's say, be unstable, where prices continue to go down below what producers from the OPEC Plus members are willing to see, then I do think that the OPEC Plus could come back again and refresh that cooperation. However, if prices continue to be at a level where they are good for producers, but by the way, it's not just OPEC Plus, but even the shale oil producers, because it will affect all these global oil players. And so then that's what's put a question on, is OPEC Plus necessary to continue its cooperation? So in an era of low oil prices, I do think that OPEC Plus coalition is extremely important, but when oil prices are a bit higher, then That's what the question is. It because that's actually why it was founded.
Yousef, if we have a look at the current oil price, WTI is trading $42 per barrel and the Brent $46 per barrel. The market is definitely signaling that it needs some kind of reassurance from the OPEC. Do you believe whatever happens from now on is going to be too little too late?
Well, not. I don't think there is a late word for the oil market. Whenever there is a supply shock or demand shock, market will certainly react because it's about supply security issues. But market likes certainty, and that's what didn't happen today. I think prices will continue to trade at a certain level, but not to the above the 50s or 60s as what we saw at the beginning of 2020. The risk actually is that if the economic situation in China and some major countries, including the EU and perhaps the United States, continues to be impacted by coronavirus, and there will be continued oversupply from now, because now there will be no restrictions on how much suppliers can produce from April. So certainly prices could even fall below $40 for both WTI and Brent. And that reminds me of what happened in 2015. Certainly that will lead, what would that lead to is they will have some expensive producers being possibly slowing their production. This is actually a very bad news for the expensive producers here. And what could that lead to on the long run is that there could be lower investments going to the oil industry and possibly a supply disruption. And that could signal prices going too high after some period of some time. Just look at what happened in 2008 when the global recession happened. Prices went below $30, and after some time they jumped to more than $110. And that's how I look at it now. These are extremely volatile situations. That's the one we are going to right now.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. So, in your opinion, are we going to remain around this price range? What are we supposed to expect in terms of prices and, of course, demand?
Well, prices, I think, the situation continues to be stable right now, especially in China and Asia and in the EU. We could see prices trading in the 40s, let's say. Let's say Brent will be maybe 46, slightly lower, slightly higher. That's the price range. But if the situation, with especially the big uncertainty now, is how well the economic recovery will happen, how soon. Would it, the number of cases, now the corona cases have reached 100,000 cases globally. Would it continue to rise in China, or would it peak and then continue to decline? If we see news coming out that cases are peaking in China and they are declining, that will be the good news for the oil market now. So I think the biggest factor influencing the market in Q2 will be actually China. And if there will be an economic recovery, then that will be the, let's say, the best situation that will save, let's say, the markets from further sinking. But certainly they will be trading at all levels, whether it's in the 40s or the 30s, but it's at what kind of level will we see the oil price.
All right, thank you very much, Yousef Alshammari, editor-in-chief.